with strict guidelines, because there's been plagiarism, there's been historical revisionism, and there's been outright theft of my work under allegedly Melanson as he lived, and under Stone. God bless his memory, but they did the wrong things, and they duplicated stuff without my name and credit, which I paid good money and sacrificed, and days I went hungry, and Gerard stood behind me, and Godfrey Isaac stood behind me, and Professor Herbert MacDonald called me just 3-4 weeks ago, and he said, "Ted, why are they bothering me? What is going on?" I said, "Well, I'm sorry, Herb. You're in retirement now, but you're crucial to the story." "Well, does Bob Joling really know the story? Is something wrong? Why did he let Moldea go on a television show and tell an absolute lie? There is no evidence that Sirhan got behind Bobby Kennedy and pushed Bobby Kennedy to the serving table. What got Ted Charach interested and why he became the father of the second-hand probe, now the Discovery, was that there was a consistency. Oh, Sirhan came from 12 feet ahead. District Attorney John Howard told Godfrey Isaac 11 feet. Time, Newsweek, all the press said he stood from 4 to 6 feet. Now, Edward Manassian was standing out the outside, and he looked in 3 feet. Nobody saw the gun go from behind at razor contact rents and shoot Bobby Kennedy. And if the prosecution had one witness, David Fitz, the chief prosecutor, told the jury they had no witnesses, but to prove that they are right, that it's Sirhan and only Sirhan, they will bring on this witness, the Wayne Woofer, the LAPD firearms expert, who was the key to the cover-up, allegedly. And Harper wasn't going to stand for it anymore. He couldn't take it. Oh, he's strong and he's courageous, but he was as mad as hell, and he wasn't going to take it anymore. And Ted, I can't wait for you and Gerard to fit the film. This affidavit, this story is going to come out. You have the affidavit. Do what the hell you want. I've got Barbara Blair, and I'm going to break the story. But Bill, that leaves us. The film is not completed. I know that, Ted, but more important than this film is to get this to stop Woofer from getting his position as director of the crime lab. And he releases the story, and Godfrey calls me in an office with Rowena. We've got to release the Harper affidavit. We'll fly to New York. And Mr. Shane listened to this, who said that NBC, Sandra Van Ocker, could hardly wait till I got off the seat after they interviewed Sandy Van Ocker and they wanted to get rid of me. It was NBC which sponsored my excursion trip to New York at the highest councils of journalism in Burbank, Tom Pettit, who watched Ruby shoot Dallas, and NBC had a great respect for our original 16mm print, Who Really Killed Bobby Kennedy, which turned into the Second Gun title. And this is the truth, the whole truth, to help me God. I swear in the memory of my two mothers, I'm an orphan kid, and on the Talmud, which I believe.
That's right. You know, Ted Charach is really, I think, you're the head of the pack when it comes to telling the truth about the Robert Kennedy assassination. Nobody else is telling, implicating Thane Eugene Cesar. Almost nobody. I mean, there's a few others, but you basically started the entire ball. You went out there and interviewed Thane Cesar himself in person, interviewed Yoder and all these other people. I just want to say, you know, that Kaiser is obviously a shill. I mean, he obviously takes money to lie and give false information. Like a lot of these people, they have a lot of money and they spend it, you know, on trying to change the physical evidence and everything else. I mean, and Wolfer and all those people, You know, they destroyed a ceiling panel that had bullet holes in it. That was another thing. And they took another, I think, terrible offense was that they took Scott Enyart's film. They confiscated Scott Enyart's film. I mean, isn't that so Orwellian and Nazistic, the way they take a young kid's film so that not one photo of anything can come out and show the public what really happened? That's why I put a law on change.gov, a proposal or whatever, that they say no more FBI and police being able to take people's videos. They can request a copy, because ultimately it's the people's...
Can't hear.
You can't hear it? Oh, so we're back again. We've got about 15 minutes. We've got to hurry. And I just want to say that, you know, talking about the Robert Kennedy murder, it's all about stopping the violence. That's what I think. We got to stop the violence on planet Earth. And there's a lot of violence out there, and there's a lot of unsolved cases, and we got to go back. And there's nothing unusual about wanting to get these murderers off the streets and into the prisons and make a safe planet. And, you know, I don't even care as much about nonviolent crime. That to me seems of a less worry. But, you know, you're talking about Kaiser. It's interesting. You did an interview on Black Ops Radio, and that's an interesting, so people can look for that. They have some interesting shows, and they had the braveness to interview Ted Charach. Not a lot of people do. And then also that book that you were talking about, Robert Joling and Philip von Prague. That's or the Robert Joling book is An Open and Shut Case, and it's got 2 DVDs. It's got a lot of video from the Second Gun, and that goes for $59.99 or $95 on the web. Yeah.
Because it's self-published and there's only limited copies, and it comes out on Joling's website, yeah. Robert J. Joling, Joling,
right.
And Philip von Prague, Praag, and I urge everybody to read that book, because that's authentic, and the other books are completely wrong in so many places, and are historical, revisionistic, and incompetent, and bad news, and are not the truth. And that includes the Christian Turner book, The Killing of Robert Kennedy. The books that tell the truth are Berezowski. Nobody knows of him, but he's in Warsaw, Poland. God bless him. And he lives where the ghetto was, the Jewish ghetto that the Nazis burnt down the ghetto, and he lives in an apartment, and I visited him. But I have all these stories to tell you and the American people in the world. Termination 3, excuse me, JFK, John F. Kennedy, MLK, Martin Luther King equals RFK, Robert Francis Kennedy. And as God be with me, I will bring that story to the world, and not too long, although people have stood in my way for years, cried and begged, and had to beg for my own manuscript. It's a terrible story, but Zorro, a man called Zorro, the real-life Zorro, Jason May helped me, and other investigative teams. And now we have coming the book, the blogger book, which will be first delivered to Robert Erickson of Creative Differences, that produces for the Discovery Channel, and to our good blog iReporter, E-I-E-Y-E, Ted Huntington, who has stood as a loyal friend of truth and history, and I admire him and respect him. We don't always agree. People can disagree. People can have viewpoints. But I put the judgment of everything in the hands of God. I'm not a fanatic, but I believe in a higher being. And
oh, Teddy, it was off.
Okay, can you hear the audio okay? Can you hear it okay?
I can hear.
Let me just say also that people who are for democracy and for stopping violence, we ought to be playing The Second Gun. We ought to all know it, all understand about it, and the JFK movies and all those stuffs. You know, if we really were for democracy and for stopping violence, we would feel no shame whatsoever in getting to the truth of these murders. And it's interesting, like Von Prague had that, if you search